Welcome to episode 2 of the Timbo Slice podcast featuring Jordan.
We're back, and this time we don't have a guest either, so it's just us two again.
Shall we start with that? Talking about why people are afraid to come on this show?
We can definitely talk about that. So, I don't know, it's kind of weird because, like, for example, Vincent said that he doesn't want his voice or his opinions out there in the wild on the internet. But I told him, well, as of now, we have like 4 subscribers, 2 of them being us. And so I don't know that this necessarily counts as putting your voice on the internet yet, but, well, there it is.
It's a safe space for now.
Yeah. But, I don't know, I can understand to some degree the hesitation.
We are key figures in the intellectual dark web.
Totally. And so, it's understandable that there'd be hesitation about being recorded. I know that, there's some self-consciousness to overcome there. But I don't know, maybe someday we'll get somebody. Kevin said that maybe he would do it if he had time. So he's just really busy. And
so are we applying peer pressure right now? Is that what we're doing?
Maybe.
In episode 2? This is the peer pressure episode.
Yeah, Dane probably would have done it if he weren't in the middle of moving. I didn't get a chance to talk to Sean because I don't think he was in office yesterday, but I think there's still some people that'll be willing to come on and be a guest, but I wasn't able to get anyone for today.
Has Dane given his 2 weeks yet?
He gave more than 2 weeks, I guess. I believe his last day is the last business day in May. And yeah, he already gave notice on that.
That's kind of a sad story. We should talk about that next.
Perhaps so. What do you have to say about it, Jordan?
Well, let's give the context first. So our friend Dane interviewed at their tech company, software company.
I forgot the name.
In Cache County.
Something to do with space.
And they gave him a job offer.
They did.
And was the salary higher than he's making here?
It was about the same.
Okay. So same salary.
Yeah.
So he showed it to his boss's boss and asked if Exactware cared to offer him any more since he had a job offer from another company.
That's right.
And they said no, and not in the best way. It would have been probably acceptable and good if they just said no, right? Mm-hmm. Because Dane could have assumed, wow, my boss's boss doesn't have any social skills. Normally, when you say no to another adult, you kind of have to qualify things, especially if you work together.
Yeah, and he may have. I mean, I wasn't there. I only have heard Dane's side of the story and his interpretation, so yeah. We don't know exactly what went down or what was said, but we definitely know how Dane interpreted it.
Yeah, well, what Dane heard was, you're not worth any more money than what we're already giving you, so no.
Yeah.
And then he was also kind of on the radar as someone that needed to improve their performance, is that right?
That's kind of what they said to him, but the interesting thing is he was never really told that outside of this context, right? He's been working in that role for, I think it's over 6 years now. And throughout that time, you're supposed to be having frequent one-on-ones with your boss. You're supposed to be getting evaluated at the end of every year. And so it seems odd that if that were a real thing, why didn't it come up before?
Yeah. Like, it would have been very easy to spin that in a positive way, to say no, but as soon as you can do X and Y, right, these 2 weaknesses that we identified in the course of the interview process, as soon as we know that you're more solid on those 2 things, then yes, we can give you more money.
Yeah. That's definitely true. I mean, the other thing too is, again, this is from Dane's side of the story, and I don't know exactly what was said, but it seems like it would have been better for for them to investigate and say, hey, you know, we don't think you did that great on this question we asked you in an interview that was completely optional. So we're going to look into it and see, you know, let's review some of your code more closely. Let's talk to your immediate supervisor about your tech level and what you need to improve, and, you know, and kind of like do it in a constructive way rather than saying, hey, this, you know, just this one question that you didn't answer adequately, we're going to use that to judge your performance of the past 6 years. So I don't know what exactly was done or what was said. Maybe they did do more due diligence, but overall it just kind of felt like it wasn't handled well to me.
Yeah. Like it was more a focus on what he was lacking than how he could get to where he wanted to be, right? Because clearly there was a difference in perception there.
Right. And that's the thing, like that kind of attitude is really important, because you can take anyone, no matter who they are or where they are in their career, and there's probably something that's holding them back from getting to the next level, right? Everybody has things they need to improve, work on, whether it's just getting more experience, more exposure to certain types of work, whatever it is. And, you know, that's the kind of stuff that you target, and you say, hey, you know, we're going to work on your career. We're going to work on your personal development. Here's a plan to get you to the next level. You know, maybe you're not mentoring people on the team enough. Maybe your technical skills need to get to the next level. Maybe there are parts of the application, the software application that you're working on that you haven't touched or that you haven't delved into. So let's get you a plan to get you to where you need to be so that you are prepared or worthy for the next step when the time comes. You know, that's the kind of attitude that you need to take with everybody, right? And so it seems like that should have been the way to approach this, you know? Maybe they said, hey, you know, we're not ready to throw more money at you, but, you know, we've identified a few things that you can work on, and if you knock these out, you'll be ready to be a senior developer or whatever. But But again, that should have been something that happened it should have been going on anyway, right? Like that's the kind of management that's supposed to be going on constantly, not just like, oh, you're trying to leave. Well, now let's talk about your career. Now let's talk about what you need to improve, where you need to step up your game. You know, that's the whole point of having one-on-ones frequently throughout the year. It's the whole point of the evaluation process. So for him to get this as he has one foot out the door after working for 6+ years, I don't know, I think that's just not the way to do things.
Yeah, part of the problem was it was reactionary.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the problem I have with, how to say this. I find that a lot of people treat leadership as something that is supposed to be reactionary. You know, like, you have somebody who's doing fine in their job. A lot of managers just kind of ignore those people. You know what, they're doing fine, they're doing okay. I don't have to worry about it. What I do have to worry about is when something's not going right. You know, somebody's not performing or somebody behaved inappropriately. Then you step in as a leader, right? That's very reactionary, and I really don't like that kind of leadership. I don't think it's real leadership. I think that real leadership is more active, more proactive, more, you know, it happens, you know, it drives things rather than just reacts to things. And so really in this case, there should have been a leader in place guiding Dane's career, identifying things that he needed to work on, making a plan, following up, encouraging, and creating like a roadmap for his time here.
Yep.
So yeah, really, like, for example, I've been through a lot of leadership training in the past few years, and one thing that comes up a lot in anything that's to do with training, management, or leadership or whatever is that you should be spending most of your time on the people who are performing well and not much time on people who aren't. Because it's more valuable to invest resources, time, whatever, human CPU cycles, whatever you want to call it, right? Your all your mental energy, you want to invest that on the people who are going to be going places. And for people who aren't, you just kind of let them maybe do their job, maybe give them some things to work on, right? But you want to be really active in providing opportunities to gain experience or gain knowledge to the people who are at the top. Whereas when you're reactive, you just kind of say, oh, everything's going smoothly, I can just kick back in my chair until something catches on fire, and then I'll go put it out. And I see a lot of leadership like that all over the place, and it's disappointing.
Yep. Well, what next?
Well, we could talk about how tomorrow is Mother's Day.
Tomorrow is Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Yep, happy Mother's Day, Mom. So, funny story. I went to get my mom a bunch of awesome cupcakes yesterday from Alicia's Cravings. Please sponsor us, Alicia.
Yeah.
And so they have great cupcakes. I found them on Yelp. Turns out they had won they won on this show called Cupcake Wars years ago. I don't watch it, but that's pretty good, right? You know?
Yeah.
And so I went there and I got these nice cupcakes. There's so many good ones to choose from that I ended up buying a full dozen, which was not cheap. But boy, are they good cupcakes. So because they're located in Pleasant Grove, I ended up driving back about, took me a little bit over 20 minutes maybe to get back. And when I got back, some of the cupcakes had rolled because,
Oh, no.
Because they're in a box in my car, and my car is moving fast, and I'm not one to drive conservatively, you might say. So,
At least not in Pleasant Grove.
that's right. And so, unfortunately, some of them rolled and kind of smashed up against each other a bit, and so they didn't look as nice as they did when I left the store, but they still tasted awesome. So, yeah.
So, you already ate all the Mother's Day cupcakes?
I ate one, and man, it was really good, and it was super rich, and I kind of struggled to finish it because since I started my current diet in January, I haven't really had that kind of dessert, for months now, right? Because since I'm doing a calorie restrictive diet, I kind of have to avoid sweets because they're too many calories, not enough substance, not healthy, right? And so maybe here and there I'll eat like a small piece of candy or whatever, but that's about it. I really limit myself. And so I haven't had like a big, hearty, rich dessert for like 4 to 5 months now. Something like that, right? Like 4 months.
So it blew your mind.
So it was like, it was kind of like a system shock, eating that whole cupcake in one sitting. I was just like, oh man, this is so good, but I can't contain energy of this magnitude. But it was good. Great. My dad said 10 out of 10. So there you go, Alicia.
And I got my mom an Amazon gift card. So there you go. Tim is the better son.
Well, we already knew that, Jordan, but...
Well, now we've established it on the internet. It's an established fact now. We have some measurements and data points to prove it.
Yeah. The problem is pretty much... So I have 3 brothers and 2 sisters. And pretty much everyone is getting my mom, treats. So, my younger brother just shipped her, a big, gift basket thing full of sweets. So, she's probably getting overloaded with sweets from, 6 different directions right now. So, maybe it's too much, but those cupcakes, man, those are good. And because... a lot of my siblings live out of state, they can't get her something that fresh. So I figured that'd be the way to beat them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Get the cupcakes, get the thing that's local.
Yeah. Well, if she's overloaded with sugar, it's her own fault for having too many kids.
That's true.
There, I said it.
It's true. So yeah, hopefully she likes those cupcakes. She's not one to eat sweets as much as the rest of us, though, but she only ate half of a cupcake. She's like, I just ate dinner recently, and my dad was like, you only had, how many was it? Like 3 gyoza? Gyoza are pot stickers. She ate like 3 of them. And like, man, some of my kids out-eat her already, you know? So it might be hard for her to get through a dozen of those large cupcakes, but I guess I'll have to lend more assistance.
I guess so. Well, what else?
So what were some of the other things you wanted to talk about?
Oh, I had several on my list. One was unbelief and nihilism. One was commuting. What else did I have?
Tell me about commuting. Why did you want to talk about that?
Well,
I know you're not a fan of cars.
No, I don't like cars. I wouldn't own any if I could help it. So it's the future now, 2019. We don't have flying cars
Yet.
And we don't have, we don't have Jetsons-style robots in our homes. We've got like Alexa and Siri, right?
Yeah.
Some people have smart homes. But, with all of that, with all of the amazing progress that we've made in technology and medicine and all that, commuting is still painful in many parts of the world.
Oh, yeah.
Which is hard to understand, right? Like, all of the people responsible for the progress and all of that, they have to go someplace to work every day.
Yeah.
How is it that is so terrible in so many parts of the world? So if I drive from Lehigh to Riverton, everything's fine. Bangerter Highway is usually in good shape. If I try to go from Lehigh to Salt Lake City at 9 or at 5, I'm almost guaranteed a poor experience.
It's true. Yeah, and there was, man, out here it can be bad sometimes, but back when I lived in California, things were even worse. If you can imagine, I had one job where if there was no traffic, I could get there in 20 minutes. But it would take me about an hour and 20 minutes to get there pretty much every morning. Give or take 15. So that means basically I was, the way back was about the same too. That means basically I was losing almost 2.5 hours out of my day every day. Just in the car, the gas usage, the wasted time, air pollution, all of that. It was very frustrating.
So somebody please solve that problem and let me know that you're solving it, and I'll support you on Patreon.
Yeah. So self-driving cars will be one solution. That's probably the closest thing we have on the horizon. And there are a few good things about it. The first is supposedly the efficiency gain you have having a machine control the vehicle rather than a human will reduce commute times. And then the other thing is you get the benefits of like riding a train, for example, where you can sit there and like read a book. If you're able to read a book on a moving vehicle without getting nauseous anyway. But yeah, you won't have to, when the day comes when cars are fully self-driven, you won't have to be driving, you won't have to be paying attention to the road. You could be reading a book, playing a video game, watching TV, talking to your kids, whatever, right? Because you won't be engaged in the activity of driving. So that's probably the closest thing we have on the horizon. I'm still holding out for teleportation. That would really solve the problem, bending space-time to get to where you need to go or something.
How much are the self-driving cars going to cost?
That's a good question. So I guess it really depends on the format that society ends up using.
Because won't we be stuck with the lowest common denominator
Yes.
until everybody has a self-driving car?
Yes. But At least in the heavily populated areas, the theory is that there would be self-driving cars that you yourself don't own, but that you pay to have access to. That way, it would be... imagine like let's say New York City, where most people don't drive their own car, but you have a lot of transit options like taxis, for example, or Uber or whatever.
I think the commuting problem is largely solved in New York.
Yeah, and so the idea would be you have a bunch of autonomous vehicles just going around, and you call one with your phone and tell it, I need to go from here to there. And then it comes and picks you up, you get in, it drives you there, it charges you, and then drops you off or whatever. So I think that's the way that people are going to be trying to implement self-driving autonomous vehicles in very dense areas. They don't really work. That kind of a system wouldn't really work out in a more rural area, but out there you could probably just get away with having non-self-driving cars, I guess, or I don't know, horses. You gonna make a comeback?
I guess they could. Probably not.
Probably not.
Because we're all living in the suburbs on a quarter acre, right?
Yeah.
You can't keep a horse on a quarter acre.
No.
And even if you wanted to try, your neighbors would probably report you.
That's true.
So somebody please solve that. And I guess we should all bow our heads in shame that we haven't come up with a better solution for that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, not even just the time saving and the pollution saving stuff, but like tons of people die driving. I don't remember, but I think it's one of the leading causes of death for young people. Like when you get to older age groups, it's like heart disease or whatever, but I think for the younger groups, it's like one of the major causes of death, car accident.
Noticed on the freeway, every car has one person in it, and every car with one person is going the same direction. Seems like it's almost like we tried to do the worst possible thing to get people to where they work.
Maybe so. Yeah, there have been efforts like the carpool lane, or the HOV lane as they call it here, to get people to group up or whatever, but by the end of the day, the way society works is it's hard. It's hard to do everything you need to do without your own vehicle. Shopping, getting to and from work at the times you need to go, picking up your kids, whatever, like. And so because everything's already architected in a way that expects you to have your own vehicle, it's not going to have a great effect to try to encourage people to use the same vehicle, right?
So maybe that's the real problem, that our important spaces are too dispersed and they're too specialized as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are advantages to that, but in places where you don't have a lot of people owning vehicles, there are, the corner store, the corner bakery or whatever, right? Like when I was in Japan, sometimes you could be on a large highway or whatever and look down both directions, and you could see like multiple stores, sometimes of the same one. Like you could stand and look, to the left and you see McDonald's, you look to the right, you see McDonald's. And
Starbucks is the only one that's like that here, right?
Yeah, probably.
Or so I've heard. This is Utah, so Starbucks, there aren't that many here.
Maybe. But the thing is if you have people that are largely walking or riding a bike, then everything shrinks in scale, right? Like where we live here in Lehi, Utah, everyone's basically going to be driving to where they want to go to eat or where they want to go to get groceries. And so it doesn't make sense to put, a McDonald's a block from another McDonald's. But if you were to take out vehicles, then that starts to become more viable to put them that close together. Because a block could take you like 10 minutes to walk, right? I don't know. I haven't walked a block in a really long time. Maybe that's a bad estimation, but yeah, you get the point. It's when you scale everything down, it makes less sense to put things closer, or makes more sense to put things closer together. Like if all of a sudden we solved the commute problem, right? And you could get, let's say we solved it with such great technology that you could get to California in 10 minutes, then we'd see things scale up even more, right? Like why would you need more than one of the same kind of store within 10 minutes? And if within 10 minutes includes the entire western half of the United States, then you're going to have fewer and fewer locations that are further away, right? I don't know. It seems like the best way to change the way that we commute and use vehicles would be to change the architecture and the layout of cities and everything, but that's not easy to do.
Nope.
So we're kind of stuck. So we just need self-driving cars and then teleportation.
You gonna start working on that?
The teleportation?
I'll support you on Patreon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'll get right on it. So we've been playing D&D still at work, in this very room, in fact.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's the schedule? When do you play?
So we pretty much always played during the lunch hour. So it's usually something like 11:30 to 12:30 or whatever. Because most people aren't monstrous enough to try to schedule a meeting during that time. So we're all pretty much free. Every now and then you get somebody who is lacking in human decency enough to try to schedule a meeting during noon. But most of the time it doesn't happen. So it's pretty safe. We've got people in the group that are, represent pretty much every role there is in our department. We've got me, project manager, Austin, the scrum master, Tyler, developer, and then Vincent and Chris are QA analysts, and then so is Dexton, the DM. He's in QA as well. And so because we all have different sets of meetings or different types of work to do, it can be hard to find a time that works for everybody. So we kind of target lunchtime for that reason, and we usually have to keep it to an hour because of that. So,
and do you play once a week?
Usually once a week. We've missed some weeks, and we've gotten 2 sessions in some other weeks. So it probably averages to once a week for about an hour. So we haven't made a ton of progress. We've gained a level. We're level 2 now.
All right.
We're investigating a haunted...
What did you kill to become level 2?
What did we kill?
D&D is a zero-sum game, right? You can't level without something dying.
We have done a lot of RP, which is good. I like that. So far we've fought wolves, a ghost.
So what's the story behind the wolves? Why were you fighting wolves?
We were in like a haunted forest, and there was like some kind of...
Wait a minute, why were you in a haunted forest? And that was probably the wolves' turf, I'll bet.
Yes, it was.
So you were the trespassers.
Yes,
they're defending their territory.
We were
and you killed them.
Yes. So let's rewind a little bit.
What are your alignments?
I'm chaotic neutral.
All right. So you don't have any qualms about marching into some gang's territory and killing them all?
Not really.
Are there any good characters?
Everybody else is good.
Yeah. So none of them had...
I'm the only neutral.
None of them had any... any self-doubt?
Well, here's the thing. Let's walk back a little bit and get some backstory here. So we were tasked with handling, you might say in quotes, handling a rowdy group of people that were camped outside of town. And we were going to try to do that non-violently. So we approached this group, and they knew who we were. They told us they needed our help. and said they would lead us to their town that had been besieged by evil. And we're like, okay, well, our quest here was to get you guys to clear out, so if we agree to check out your village and save the people, potentially, then will you leave? And they're like, yeah. And so that was an easy way to resolve.
Were you careful with your commitments, or did you commit to save their city?
We didn't really commit. We said we'll go check it out.
All right.
So we leave with their caravan, and as we were traveling with their caravan, we got teleported and ended up in this basically what I would describe as a haunted forest. So we're sitting there in a haunted forest. The caravan we were with is not anywhere. So it's just us. We were 4 at the time. Just standing there in the middle of nowhere in a haunted forest, and we have no idea where we are.
Oh, I see. So you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yes, and so we start to proceed through the forest, and as we do, a large, dire wolf that was apparently a shapeshifted vampire set his wolves upon us and then left. And
Wait a minute. You guys are level 1 and a vampire can't take you out?
He didn't attack us. He set wolves upon us and then teleported away. And then we fought the wolves and managed to win.
It's like, wouldn't it be like him sweeping a bunch of rag dolls aside?
Oh, yes, yeah. He could have killed all of us in one turn, yeah, if he wanted to. It's like mass hold person or something. We're all dead.
For reasons that have not yet been disclosed, he sicked his cronies on you instead.
Yes. So far, without spoiling too much of
So it's
this
their
story,
own fault for being the cronies of a vampire.
Yes. Yeah. So without spoiling too much of the story, it seems like he has some reason for wanting to lead us further and further into his lair, or whatever you might call it, into his grasp. So there's been a lot of clues or plot devices, you might say, to get us to proceed further and further towards him. So it seems like it's a trap, and it seems like right now we have no plan other than to just spring it. But yeah, we fought his wolves. We made it to some city, village, whatever you call it. It's probably more village. And right now we're investigating some house. And we fought a ghost inside.
So doesn't your group want to get back to your employer to be paid for moving the squatters away?
So we actually got paid for that before we left.
Wait a minute. They paid you in advance?
No. So what happened is part of the condition for going with this group that we cleared out was that we would have the night to prepare in town. And so during that time, I went and basically told them, yeah, these guys are packing up to leave. So we fulfilled our mission and we got paid for it. It was only 40 gold, but hey, level 1, 40 gold.
Yeah, isn't that a lot of money?
Not really, but
oh,
we had to split it 4 ways.
Gold is not that valuable in the D&D universe anymore.
I mean, it is, but it isn't.
I mean, if you had one piece of gold in our world, you would be wealthy. Not a rich person, but you could live comfortably for a while with one gold coin.
And you can in that world too. Like something like 1 piece of gold is enough to live off of for like a month. So it's like a month's salary for 1 piece of gold. So we basically got 10 months' salary. But 10 gold doesn't really buy any like awesome magic item, right? I don't know how much things cost in 5th edition. I think they're a lot cheaper than they were in 3rd, 3.5. I remember in 3.5 it was like 2,000 gold for a +1 weapon. So I'm hoping it's a lot less than that.
So did your party get hustled then? Was your employer just taking advantage of you?
I hope not.
That seems like a lot of money for an easy job. I mean, you guys just went over there and talked to them, right? Was there any resistance for them to leave?
There was no resistance. But the thing is all other groups that had been sent to stop them or get them to leave had been magically controlled. So, like, charmed or whatever. And so they were having trouble dealing with these people. And so that could be why they were willing to pay us a bunch.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah. But we got our money, and then we ended up somewhere that's haunted, with
So
vampires.
are you a bunch of blue-collar Joes then? Is that your party?
No.
It's like, why did you take this job to begin with?
So
you know magic,
I do.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wizard, baby.
Some of the other guys know how to kill stuff,
Yes.
probably.
Yeah.
So how is it that you were all looking for a job?
Well, we're kind of novice adventurers, which is why we're only level 1. So we were willing to take whatever would get us
I see.
some money.
You're just trying to get your name out there as an adventuring party.
So that's part of it. And the other part of it is my character is a Harper agent. I don't know if you're familiar with the Harpers.
Nope.
So the Harpers are an organization that works in the shadows for basically individual freedom, you might say. Like, they fight against tyranny. They try to bring balance to the force, right? So for the most part, they work to prevent any group from becoming too powerful, whether it's good or evil, law or chaos. They kind of, the idea is it's better for the common good, or for, the, what you might call the small folk, the people who are just normal people. It's better for them if no group becomes too powerful.
So you're the world police,
Kind of, yeah.
but you tell yourselves that you're fair and balanced.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
Yes. So, yeah, we're kind of like, we're almost kind of like the assassins in Assassin's Creed, if you're familiar with that at all. No? They kind of work in the shadows to, what's their slogan? It's something like, we work in the shadows to serve the light, I think is what it is.
Oh, so they want kids to feel like they're the good guy, even when they're slitting throats?
Yes, basically. That's pretty much it.
I don't get that. Why can't you just be an assassin? Right? Assassin, I mean, the word in my mind, maybe we're trying to change it to be cool. You're killing someone for money, right?
Basically.
So, however good you might tell yourself your cause is, if you're doing it for money, I don't know, right?
Well,
that kind of throws your virtue into question.
You're not doing it for money in these games, though.
In Assassin's Creed,
Yeah.
you don't kill anybody for money.
Well, I mean, you get money, but it's not, nobody's paying it to you. It's just like a game mechanic. It's like you kill a guy, you complete a quest, and money just appears in your inventory.
Oh, it's
right?
like, he's dead, he doesn't
Yeah.
need this anyway, so...
Maybe it's something like that. But
He doesn't
yeah.
have any loved ones that are going to inherit this.
But yeah, you're kind of like a shadow organization that is there to stop another ancient organization that's working to destroy free will, essentially. It's kind of a long explanation, but in summary...
So you're the defenders of free will
Yes,
that
it's-
also happen to be assassins.
Yes. In summary, there are ancient artifacts that give people the ability to control humanity. Like enslave humanity, like everybody. And there is an ancient organization called they're called the Templars today, but they've been called other things in the past, that are always trying to recover those artifacts so that they can, like, their whole idea is like, humans will always be violent and wicked and whatever, and the only way to destroy violence and end wars is to control everybody and subdue everyone. And then the assassins are opposed to them and fight to stop them from destroying free will. So that's kind of how it works. And pretty much everybody that happens to be in any position of political power in those games tends to be aligned with the Templars, and that's why you are then dispatched to go slaughter them all, essentially. So,
All right.
but they're good games. I like them. The story's pretty cool. But yeah, the Harper agents are similar to that, I think, where they're less about going around and killing everybody, but they will have a similar creed, you might say.
They're stopping the Templars.
Not really the Templars, but just anybody. So,
Anybody that gets too powerful.
yes.
They're like the last place racer in Mario Kart. The one that gets the
Yes.
blue shell.
And the lightning bolt, right? Yeah. So that's what my character's backstory is. Well, that's kind of like his background, and so he he does whatever he feels is going to further the goals of his organization. And so he was given this quest by a fellow agent who works directly for it was the Duchess of the city we were in at the time. I forgot what her name was, but so she needed those people cleared out, and we were tasked with it, and we were willing to do it to gain, some kind of alliance with her or whatever.
Are the other adventurers Harpers as well?
No, and they don't know that I am.
Would they care?
Probably not.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know if they would even know what that.
But you're not that close yet, so why volunteer?
Exactly.
Right?
So.
But you are on a road trip together.
Yeah, like in Final Fantasy 15. Except now we have 5 people instead of just 4. In Final Fantasy 15, you had a group of 4. But good game. Speaking of Final Fantasy, I just beat Final Fantasy 6. First time.
What?
The reason why it's the first time...
You had never finished it before?
Is because I was all the way to the point... I don't know if I can spoil this live on the internet, Jordan, even though it's a game that came out like 20 years ago.
Damn. Some people have not played Final Fantasy 6 yet.
Okay, I had already gotten to the point where I was about to fight the final boss. I had gathered all my companions except for maybe 1 or 2 in the world of Ruin, and I lost my saved game. And it was devastating, Jordan. Devastating.
Just couldn't go back.
Well, I didn't want to start all over again.
What?
And so eventually I did. Just like a few weeks ago, I started over and then just played through. I kind of just sprinted through like the first 66% of the game just because I had already done it. And then took my time in the last third once I had gotten back to where I was originally. But yeah, good times, great game, great soundtrack. Highly recommended.
Square Enix. Are they still Square Enix?
Yes, they are.
All right. If you want to sponsor this podcast, we welcome your sponsorship.
Speaking of Square Enix, another thing is I haven't seen it. I haven't watched it yet because I'm a fool, apparently. But they just released a trailer for the remake of Final Fantasy VII. Yeah. So they announced that they were going to do the whole remastered thing a few years ago.
Is it going to be the same game? Or is it going to be significantly different? Because Resident Evil 2, they remastered it and they redid some things.
They are definitely redoing a lot. So
are you still going to try and fool Don Corneo in drag?
I hope so. If they took that out, man, I will be disappointed. But anyway, what we know for sure is that they're changing the combat system. So it's not going to be like walk around, random encounter, turn-based combat anymore. It's going to be more like what they've been doing lately with like Final Fantasy 15 or 12. I didn't play 13, so I don't know if they do the same thing, but you just kind of like walk around in a more open style world and you see enemies on the path and you fight them, kind of action RPG style. So I think that's what they're going to do with the remake of 7, which means their environments are going to be different. The whole combat system is going to be different. But I'm guessing the whole story is going to be left unchanged.
Well, that'll be different. I know, I forget the name of the place, but it's where Aerith gets killed. City of the Ancients?
Something like that.
Is that what it is?
It's something like that.
So, it's hard for me to remember.
You just spoiled everybody on the internet, by the way.
I've not played the game in ages, and I have a hard time remembering it.
Yeah.
But it seems like it was kind of an empty, forsaken place, and that was part of its history. Mm-hmm. So if you fill it up with monsters, you kind of won't have that anymore, right?
Yeah.
It won't be a lonely, abandoned city.
Yeah. But you had random encounters there before, right?
Yeah, you did.
So.
But it was okay, because it still felt empty.
Yeah.
And you were playing a JRPG, so of course there's going to be random encounters. It was all perfectly normal.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what they do. In some of the dungeons in Final Fantasy 15 that they wanted to give more of that empty feel, a lot of the time you'd walk around for a while before you saw anything, and oftentimes they hid the monsters, so like they would kind of like drop down from the ceiling or like pool up out of the ground as you approached or whatever. So it looked really vast and empty until something kind of like showed up. So they might do something like that for a location that's supposed to feel less alive. But yeah, they did I don't know if they did it yet, but they were going to do a concert. Yeah, I think it hasn't come up yet, but they were going to do a concert specifically for Final Fantasy VII in California. So only the Final Fantasy VII soundtrack, nothing else. So they already have one called, I think it's called Distant Worlds, where they do like all the Final Fantasies. They just do like a few songs from each. But this concert's special in that it's going to be only Final Fantasy VII music. And the tickets, Jordan, are priced at $77.77.
Well, all right.
And so, man, I wish I could go to that. I wish it were here so I guess I probably still could have. But maybe I don't want to enough to like drive out there and go and then drive back. But if it were here and I could just like, spend only an evening going to it and coming back, I would have been all over it.
So is that your favorite one? Number 7?
I don't know if it's my favorite one. I don't know. I haven't played it since it was like contemporary, so I played it back. What year was it? I was in high school, I think. A long time ago.
Yeah, that's when it came out.
Yeah, I haven't played it since, so it's hard to remember, I remember liking it a lot. And I still listen to the soundtrack all the time. But it's hard to say if it's the best one. I don't know.
It doesn't have to be the best, just your favorite.
My favorite?
Yeah. Like with ice creams. It doesn't have to be the best ice cream, just your favorite.
Yeah. That's fair. I don't know. I really liked 15, even though it had some major weaknesses. But in a lot of ways, the newer the games are, the more immersive they become, maybe. Because, like, for example, Final Fantasy VI is great, but, like, I don't think I really felt that I knew the characters as much as I know the ones in 15, because in 15 they're all voiced. And, they're in higher resolution, they look like real people, they have a lot of banter. Whereas in 6, they're silent unless there's some kind of story, thing going on, and they don't talk a lot, they don't have voice actors, they're small and 16-bit. So while a lot of the characters in Final Fantasy VI are great, I don't feel that the same level of bond with them maybe as I do for like Final Fantasy X and on, because they're just more realistic, they have voice acting. I think they're more present in the story. I don't know. It's a really hard question, Jordan. I don't know that I have an answer for it. I'll have to think about it.
I think 6 was my favorite.
Which ones have you played other than 6?
I played the first one.
Whoa.
I'm not sure which ones I played on emulator, but I've played 4, 5, and 6, I know. 7, 8, 9. Haven't played 10. I guess 9 is the newest one that I've played. I played 11 a little bit, if you could count that. It's an MMO. All right, I want to eat now, so we're going to stop recording. Sorry, everyone. This is all you get for episode 2.
Yeah, we'll have to go get some lunch, man. Anyway, thanks for listening. Maybe next time we'll have a guest. Hopefully we do. So stay tuned. Bye, everybody.